A really interesting phenomenon that I've noticed recently is that our enemies are revealing to us more easily than before who they really are. Evil is becoming clearer and clearer. Truth and falsehood are becoming clearer and clearer. And the question is really how much people wish to still bury their heads in the lies. It's amazing how in the end, evil really kind of destroys itself through simply revealing what it is, revealing the falsehoods of their lies. I want to show you this fascinating clip. This is Hamas leader Fatih, I think I pronounced it right, Hamad, who is himself admitting that the so-called Palestinians are simply Arabs who migrated to the land of Israel from neighbouring regions, openly stating on Arab TV that every Palestinian has roots in either Egypt or Saudi Arabia, debunking the myth that Free Palestine is a decolonization project, that the Palestinians are an indigenous, unique people with ancient ties to the land. Have a watch.
أصولنا كلنا عربية ويستطيع كل فلسطيني في غزة وفي كل فلسطين أن يأتي بجذوره العربية سواء كانت من السعودية أو من اليمن أو من أي نفط ولذلك قد تربطنا قرابات ولذلك أين المودة أين الرحمة أنا شخصيا نص عائلتي مصرية كلنا ويمكن بيجي حوالي أكثر من 30 عائلة اسمها المصري في أساسنا نص فلسطين يا أخواننا مصري ونصها سعودي ايش من هم الفلسطينيون في عندنا في اسماء كثيره اسمها المصري وجذورهم مصريه قد يكونوا من الاسكندريه من القاهره من دمياط من الوجه البحري من اسوان من الصعيد نحن مصريون نحن عرب نحن مسلمون نحن منكم الله اكبر والله الحمد الله اكبر.
So isn't that funny? So when it's convenient for them to say we're a unique people, to get world sympathy, to get people on board, to say Israel's just oppressing them and stole the land from them, they do that. But when they need to appeal to their Arab brothers, nations, countries, in order to try and get their support and sympathy and mercy, they have a very different tune. It's amazing. As I said, they ultimately reveal who they are in the end. And this should not be shocking for anyone that actually studies just in a little bit more depth than a superficial look of the conflict. They'll understand that this has always been the case. You know, it's interesting. This is the United Nations partition plan, which is in 1947 when they proposed splitting the land into an Arab state and a Jewish state. Here's the interesting thing. Where's the word Palestine? Why aren't they calling it a Palestinian state? It literally says, as you can see here, Jewish state in the blue, and in the orange, Arab state. They recognize that these are Arabs. It's an Arab state. They're just Arabs. They're not a unique national identity. There's just a lot of Arabs that were living in that country. In this plot of land, I should say. So, think about this, and I often show this map, and I think it's so important for people to look at this and acknowledge the truth. Had, God forbid, the Arabs defeated Israel in 1948, God forbid, had they done that, then this is what the map would have looked like. Let me just get it up to make sure I have it. Here. So you'd have Egypt would have a chunk of the land, Jordan would have a chunk, Syria, Lebanon. Where's the free Palestine? Where's the Palestinian state for the Palestinians? No. And then again in 1967, they tried to destroy Israel in 1973, and that would have been the outcome, this kind of map, God forbid. Where's the Palestinian state? Where's the Palestinians they're trying to liberate? The first spiritual political leader of the Palestinians, Hajj Amin al-Husseini, wanted it to be part of southern Syria, the land. See, you need to understand that for them, this is not about a unique people that just wants a plot of land, for political reasons, for self-determination. It's not about that. This all goes back to this video I did yesterday, which you can watch on JTV, that talked about the BBC mistranslating the words of a Gazan woman who was saying, "Our fight is a jihad against the Jews," and they translated it to resistance against the Israelis. See, if you say it's resistance against the Israelis, then you foster the narrative that they're just against this political entity, military entity, and not Jews as a whole, and it's about their own self-determination and resisting for decolonization. But that's a lie, of course. If you want to know the truth, just translate her words properly. She said it's about jihad, which means this is religious. And it's not about politics and a distinct national identity fighting for their rights. And she said it's about the Jews. Not about the Zionists, about the Jews. This has never been about a unique people that wants a unique plot of land that they consider themselves indigenous to. They have just admitted in this video that I just showed you that they consider themselves Arabs, part of the Arab world, and they want to destroy Israel, not because they think they are a unique identity called the Palestinians. They didn't even call themselves Palestinians. It was actually Jews that called themselves Palestinians prior to the establishment of Israel, because they were living in this region that was called Palestine. The land was renamed by Roman Emperor Hadrian from Judea to Palestine to sever the Jewish connection. But Jews said, well, okay, that's what it's been referred to now for a long time. So they said, well, I guess we're Palestinian Jews. But the Arabs are like, no, we're Arabs. Arabs aren't indigenous to this plot of land. They're indigenous to the Arabian Peninsula. And the Jews said, look, we've been there for thousands of years. Most of us were scattered, although we've always maintained a presence there. Centuries before Islam came along, we had sovereignty there. We were the only nation in history to have a sovereign state in that land, both in modern times and ancient. But they said, fine, okay, since the Islamic conquest of the 7th century, there's been Arabs living here. Many of them actually migrated there as Jews started migrating back to the land, but they moved there through legal means, the Jews, purchasing land legally. There's this narrative that somehow the Jews came along and stole the land. And so, of course, the Arabs are resisting. No. In 1947, when the United Nations proposed this map, Jews had come back through legal means, purchasing land legally from willing Arab landowners, often not Arab landowners. It was just owned by all kinds of parties and governments, and there was a lot of public land as well. And the great displacement that the Palestinians lament was not done by because the Jews sort of came there and kicked everyone out and said, right, now it's our state. The UN, had they accepted this plan, the Arab side, there'd be an Arab state and a Jewish state. The Jews accepted it. The Arabs went to war against the Jews. So they go to war against the Jews, against the Jewish state, and as a result of that war, many were displaced. But actually, contrary to popular belief, a lot of the displacement occurred because the Arab armies themselves told the Arabs, leave, get out, so we can just clear the area, throw all the Jews into the sea, then you can come back and live in peace in a Judenrein land. Of course, that didn't happen, but now that's our fault that you were displaced. Meanwhile, even more Jews than Arabs were displaced from Arab countries in that same year. Nearly 1 million Jews in Arab countries kicked out. There was no war going on there, it was simply anti-Semitism. But you don't hear about that. Partly because Israel absorbed all of them and took them in. So the point is that ultimately, in the end, truth and falsehood becomes super, super clear. And Hamas are revealing who they really are, for those who wish to see it, and there are more and more people who are seeing it, and there's also more and more people who are digging their heels in, who are going to end up with egg on their face if they don't recognize the truth soon enough. It's amazing, this actually really ties into the Purim holiday, which Jews are about to celebrate. Because the story of Purim is about a man called Haman, who does all he can to try and destroy the Jews. And God's name is never actually mentioned in the book of Esther, because it's training us to learn how to see God behind the scenes, not through open miracles, but through closed miracles, where God is making things that seem like coincidences, but actually his footprint is everywhere. And he's guiding our steps towards the conclusion that he wants. And Haman, despite all his best efforts, he ends up being hung on the very gallows that he himself created to put the Jewish leader on, Mordecai. The parading that he wanted to have, he had to do for Mordecai. The parading that he wanted to do for himself, I mean, to glorify himself, he himself had to do that for Mordecai. The whole story of Purim is about how, however much evil tries to have clever, cunning plans, in the end it is exposed, foiled, destroyed. I've always found it quite a cause for reflection, at least, that Hitler killed himself. Evil will destroy itself in the end. That is the message of Purim. And I think that's been one of the messages that I've seen over the past few months and year or so now. Things become clearer and clearer. And they are becoming clearer in a way that I didn't even imagine would happen. And thank God. Because imagine if we were fooled. And I pray to God that we aren't still fooled. That the Palestinian cause was really just about all the things that soft-hearted Western liberals thought it was about and still think it was about. Imagine if we were fooled and gave away Judea and Samaria. Imagine what could have happened. We saw what happened when we left Gaza. And many times it's been offered, by the way. We learned recently what Ehud Olmert was planning on offering Abbas. That Abbas turned it down. Basically nearly all of Judea and Samaria. And Gaza. And Abbas turned it down. So, for those who have their eyes open, for those who wish to see truth and falsehood, good and evil becoming clearer and clearer by the day. And that's the message of the Purim story. God's name is not mentioned at all because it's training us to learn how to just look a little bit deeper, a little bit beneath the surface, to see God's hand, to see the truth, if we're able to just open our eyes a little bit wider.
Thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.